Shut up and sit down.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Lifelong Learner with Janesh. Today we have John Engelander as our guest.
Welcome back everyone to another episode of Lifelong Learner. So today I am joined by a good friend, John Engelander. Thank you for joining us today, John.
Thank you.
So John is a master of many talents, and I'm going to rattle off a few and then I'll throw it to John to fill in the blanks. John, not only a father and a partner, he's the founder of father and partner in life in general, not just this business, but the founder of Planet Earth. And I'll get John to explain Planet Earth a little bit later. In layman's terms, on my end, it's a cleaning company with a very, very big difference that they're making. John is also a very outside-the-box thinker, which those that know John will always enjoy the conversations you have with John, and an avid storyteller. I don't think I've met someone that can tell a story as good as John, and you're very captivating. So, John, thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So, John, fill in the blanks. I know I gave a really broad stroke kind of intro to yourself, but tell us a little bit more about yourself and what are you currently up to?
Wow. Well, it's a Planet Earth cleaning company. It's a business that helps organisations in terms of a chemical-free approach to cleaning office buildings and making it healthier. So that's a really important one because it actually leads on to many aspects. Planet, no toxic, and people, no toxic. And so it kind of allows clients like ours to choose us as the impact they want to be, literally just by choosing Planet Earth. So that's right there. But what am I up to? I'm up to a lot of things. I love my music. I love my cycling. I dabble on the piano. I'm really bad at it, but I enjoy it. And I do know that layer by layer by layer over the years, by pushing hard, that eventually I just get better at that. Maybe not a concert pianist, but it's okay. And I explore quite a few things. Just recently picked up a new chess set that I hadn't played chess for 20 years. And I thought, just get that brain stimulated. But, high energy stimulus is really important. I'd like to add to all of this. All this came together. I reckon, from me, I've always wanted a quality life. And quality is different for different people. For me, it's fulfillment. For me, the word success doesn't actually cut it for me because I think that means you've got success and then the opposite to that's failure. And that really is very painful and almost harmful. So fulfillment, it kind of brings it together with a whole lot of aspects of me wanting to be a contributor, me wanting to be creative. Income stream's a great thing, and having fun and adventure all brought together. So, and I love to help people see that too. So it's so that they don't see it. I need a big house and I need wonderful cars in my underground car park, but rather to actually live life fully. There've been a lot of falls in my life. So I think from my perspective, the falls have been great because it's made me truly understand the good stuff and where I'm leading to.
Just to actually just bridge on your falls, what would you say your biggest learning or most valuable lesson you learned from one of your falls?
Okay, so when I built the largest IT company of its kind in my mid-20s, and by the way, I am bringing it up for a reason, not to make a big deal of myself. It really doesn't matter. I was a big reseller for one of the top brands in the 80s, so it kind of shows my age, but I was 25 and, within 4 years, that business grew. And someone asked me the other day, how many did you have in the sales team to combat your competitors? And I went, they're looking at him. So I just worked out a formula that would support our clients and make them, the most important thing was actually to have a support group in my company. Selling was the easy bit, making sure that you look after people so then they talk to other people about who you are, right? Yeah. So that seemed to be the momentum. But when Olivetti, which was the typewriter brand that became a PC brand, the second largest manufacturer in the world next to IBM, lost its market profile, it started to sell directly to my clients. Get this, under my buy price.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so a great business that fell over as a result of it. couldn't stand a chance if they were selling less than what they were selling it to me for.
Yeah.
What did I learn? Own the brand. Whatever I do, So, well, try to, And the other thing too is always know where the market is. There's no point being passionate about something and you're wanting to make a living. Then it's a hobby. But if you're passionate enough and you're making a living, there better be a market for it. Otherwise I think there better be a market. I'm not Tim Minchin who'd be happy to be poor doing the theatrical stuff. I'm very theatrical, but I also like the balance.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, right.
Yeah.
And so taking that into account, how did Planet Earth, what was the inception of Planet Earth, and kind of where did it start and where did it drive to go, you know what, there's to create a commercial cleaning company with a very big difference?
Yeah, sure. Good question. Look, I never thought I'd be in cleaning. I don't think as a child I'd grow up and go, oh, one day. So, but when my business crashed and I was looking for a job and my self-esteem was so low because my sense of who I was related to this big business, which is, when looking back, doesn't make sense, but that's what it did. I was still very young and needed to develop still from that point of view. So I got a job eventually. And I don't know, I accepted less money because I just couldn't talk myself into a job. As good as I was before at communicating, I'd lost all that. And so the moment I had this job, it was a good idea because I got started again. It's like everything, gets started. And when I got started, I got my self-belief back because I was starting to talk to people because I was in a place to do that. And often people go, oh, I'm not confident to do that. Well, guess what? I had no confidence, but my confidence came from doing. And once I got started, that was fine. The only problem was I didn't enjoy working for someone and getting direction from someone else. Clearly, I needed to be in business, but when? I was approached by someone in cleaning and he said to me, hey, John, can you help me grow my business? I went, hang on, I'm not in cleaning. I'm an IT guy. Once again, the ego. And so in my case, because I look back and think about what ego does to us, and how proud we can be. And it's so unnecessary. And that's why I don't like the word success anymore, but fulfillment. And so it's all those learnings along the way from experience. And I said to Andrew, let me think about it. A couple of days went by and I thought, hang on a minute. Technically, cleaning's easy. Business has its challenges. What if I got involved and grew it? So I went back to him and I said, I've got no money, but I wanted to be back in business. I said, I'll tell you what, I will double your business that you've had for 10 years within 12 months. And for that, I want half the company. So that's sweat equity. So being a smart ass, maybe, but that's what I wanted to do because I figured if I can't do it, okay, he walks away with some new clients that didn't cost him. I can do it. I've got myself a business for nothing by just putting in the effort. After that, it was really interesting. Him and I weren't getting along because I was growing the business. Within 3 months, I grew it by half, 50%. Wow. Yeah, and I didn't really expect it because I knew nothing about the industry. But it's so simple. Back then, no one was even giving proposals. They were writing a dollar figure behind a business card when they went and did a quote.
Yeah, wow.
And I came from IT. We were very professional. And we would put things together and we had contracts with clients, proper contracts. So one thing led to the next. And then, but what happened was because I was winning business, rather than him getting excited, he actually got jealous. He said, "You're becoming the front man." Yeah, well. That was tough because all I wanted to do was grow. And I thought we had the same sense together. Yeah. Anyway, one day, one of the cleaners didn't show up. And I thought, you know what? I'll roll up my sleeves and see what it feels like to be in the team, understand it. And so I did. I rolled up my sleeves and I recall this moment in a toilet cubicle. I wish I was videoed because my wife would never believe that's possible. But the moment I opened up the chemicals, the fumes came out. And I talk about this a bit because I was so naive to think that cleaning products and toxic weren't related, but they were they were never cleaned. I just knew what I needed to do a good clean. That's all. Very, very simple, really. But the fumes were suffocating. And I noticed I didn't even wear gloves. I mean, where was OH&S back then? But my skin started to crack, and the burning sensation from the poison of the chemicals. Wait, that's it. There's got to be a better way. So I went to Andrew and I said, Andrew, I've got this idea. We could replace toxic with non-toxic. It would be so much better for the clients. It's just not right that they should be, exposed to this. And he looked at me and he went, we've always done it like this. You mad? All right. So that was the turning point. That was the moment. And I went, that's it. We can't work together. Can't stand the fact that I'm growing the business. You can't stand the fact that I have seen a healthier way to give ourselves not only a point of difference, but to make a difference. Yeah. So I was out of there. We ended up in a lawyer's office, and which was not good. But he ended up keeping some clients. Yeah. And I ended up keeping some clients, but only something so small. It was ridiculous, like $1,000 a year worth of turnover. Point is, when I realised it was toxic for the cleaners, it's probably toxic for the planet also. Must be good for the planet if I get it right. And that's how planet Earth was born. If we could replace everything. Well, today we use equipment that gets plugged into the plumbing system, and it, through electrolysis process, converts water into a cleaning product.
Yeah, wow.
It's amazing. And so chemical-free, healthier. And I mean, let's face it, wellness is an important topic in the workplace. So, hey, we've covered it all, apart from the fact that people become greener just by choosing us. Yeah. I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know the story of impact was going to be so important. Yeah. I didn't know that there are people who invest in impact and look at a company like mine and go, wow, you were really ahead of your time. But I didn't even think about it that way. It just seemed logical.
Yeah. And so, and just from knowing you as well, so impact is a big part of your world, right? And even that story's, how does impact not only environment, but how has that flowed into other areas of your life in terms of people, relationships, just like, again, share with our listeners, how does it, in every aspect of your world, impact is there? I know that because I know you, but yeah, share that for our listeners.
Thank you. I think you're right on it. Impact. So from my perspective, people matter a lot. In fact, that's our thing at work. People matter. Yeah. And understanding my culture, my people, means I can make them really value themselves, see their strengths. And when they see their strengths and value themselves, and that means their self-esteem is strong, do you think they're good for themselves? Absolutely. Yeah. Do you think they're good for the organisation? For sure. And then brought it together, and you have this thread, this general theme of, I almost call it a united strength. Yeah, because people feeling good is the best place to be. When I feel good, I'm in the best place. When you're feeling good, you're in the best place. How can you not do great things? And then you get clarity, and then understand calmness, and you have clarity, which are the three things, calmness. You've got your health, and you've got clarity, and you feel good. I mean, it might sound ridiculous. It's not. It makes sense. Now, if people matter, people around us matter. My culture, absolutely, because they're all feeling it that way. We're very sensitive about each other. We want everyone to be the best they can be. You walk into my office and people can't believe this connection. Do I call it family? I don't know. I think that's a bit overrated, but the connectiveness is there, human connectiveness. And then it relates, of course, back to the planet, because why do we care about the planet? Should it matter? Well, the way I see it is, if we look after the planet, we're looking after ourselves. And it comes back to people matter. Yep, and planet matters. And planet matters because people matter. Or maybe it's a complete circle, just the way it is, circularity of sorts. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's really, I think it's invaluable.
Yeah, so you mentioned with your culture and your team, there's a high sense of connectedness. How would you describe your culture if someone walked in and they were looking at your team? How would you describe it? And what is that is like? I know that in workplaces that it's not a common practice, right? Like a tight knit workplace is not a common practice, right? So. What do you do to create that? And I'm a firm believer it comes from the top in terms of they hold accountability to it, and they create the parameters to foster that and to grow that. So I'm curious to know how would you describe your culture? And two, what do you do to plant the seeds? What seeds are you planting?
Goodness, a solid culture, a culture that has character. A culture that it's character. It's with the word care seems almost underrated, but the character of care, the character of being meaningful, the point that we exist, thinking about being humble, thinking about egos don't belong here. Assholes don't belong here. We won't have it. We won't tolerate it. You just can't put people down. Just can't. You can bring them up, not down. Go somewhere else if you want to be brought down, or if you feel small about yourself, but you're not going to feel small there. So I think that's the thing. You're bringing people up. I mean, when we found an office space earlier this year, we found this loft, beautiful timber floors, 16-foot ceilings, whitewashed walls, reclaimed timber tables, everyone working together. But when you walk in, there's a level of zen or calm. And I was starting to almost, it became funny when I used to say, "Welcome to Gaia." And for those who don't know what Gaia is, it's, the Mother Earth. And so it's another place, but there's a level of calm. Clients can be stressed. Our job is to take that away from them. Our people can be stressed. Our job is to take it away from them. Our job is to lift people. My daughter is no different. My family, there's a common thing there, and I watched my daughter who has amazing leadership skills, and her thinking about aspire to inspire.
It's very cool.
Where did she get that? I just want to see people feel their own self-worth.
Yeah. To touch on that, and then earlier on you talked about kind of confidence and self-belief. So currently in today's society, and I see it, and I'm going to ask you if you see it as well, and that it seems like overall as a whole, there's a lacking in this confidence, right? There's a lacking in this self-belief. And when you're talking about this bringing people up, right? Why do you think there's more people or more things around us to bring us down than to bring us up? Like, we know, our rational, logical mind knows, hey, look, to bring us up, we're better for it. We're better for it. But why is society... I know, like misery loves company, right? But except for that, why is that, right?
You're asking me. I should have all the answers, right?
Yeah, I'm curious. What's your take on it?
I think there's a couple of things.
Yeah.
I'll think out loud for a moment, and forgive me if I don't. It's what I believe. I believe that people haven't found their authenticity. I believe when you know more of who you are, it's easier to get comfortable. We aren't somebody else. We are us. We are ourselves. We'll never be someone else. You see someone else who you'd like to be, but you forget it, right? But you can have parts of them. You can maybe even think about, bringing that on, if you can. Like me, I'd love to be on the stage like a Tim Minchin. I brought him up before. The reason I bring him up is because he's so damn good at what he does, and I'd love that. But then I must, surely I need to tap into my own qualities. I don't have to be Tim. I have to be me. Everyone has to be them. So tapping into who you are, or accepting is a big one, right? I think that's an important one. The other one too is chasing things that, like you have to go to university today. I mean, my God, if you don't go, who are you? And yet, I don't believe that to be true. Yeah, build your communication skills, become engaging. I've often, when I'm speaking to young people around my daughter's late teens, son's just turned 20 today, in fact, and I said, they always seem to congregate around me. My daughter says, "Oh, they always come to you," blah, blah, and have chats, and I want to be relatable. Relatability is really important. So, but I say to them three things, ask them three questions. One is, what's your strengths? What do you love doing where you have your strengths? What do you love doing? And if you're looking for a future, is there a market? Imagine you love what you do and there's a market and you're good at it. What's the point of going to uni and saying I'm going to be a lawyer when you can't stand rote learning? What's the point? It's and I think it's interesting that you never, even with no money, when you're doing, I talked about passion and it's a good idea to get on with it. But sometimes you start getting on with it with no money. I've been there. I've never felt poor. I've never felt that. I have felt inadequately unintelligent, but I don't think I'm any different to anyone else. And that's the thing too, is to actually understand that other people go through what you go through. And that's good. I'm saying to my son, a bit of pain in your life, a bit of, can work really in your favor. When I lost a business, it killed me for 2 years. I was feeling it. But it makes you better.
Yeah, it makes you stronger. And I think, it gives you, sometimes it backs you in a corner that you have to lift yourself up, right? And it not only builds that resilience, but it's a kind of that necessity, right? You have that necessity, and then you go, you know what? That pain causes the necessity of going, let's find another way.
Yeah. What's essential? What do I need to do? But what do you need to do? What is it you need in life that's that important? Close relationships. Yeah. For me anyway, I can't speak for other people. I asked about 3 years ago, and maybe I manifested the COVID style of being, be simple and whatever. If the business was gone, how would I live? What do I need?
Yeah.
How can I do it smaller, lesser, whatever? And actually that's kinder on the planet too, because what I do think is if we actually care about what's happening with climate change and the weather, and we want good oxygen for our children in the future and clean drinking water, which they deserve, we can be responsible for doing it right and wrong. So I think the right way, whatever that looks like, it's really hard. It's hard to believe it. It's really difficult. We're not scientists. And it's also difficult because we want to be comfortable to a degree, right? But less comfortable. What's wrong with that? How big does the house need to be? What if you cut your home down by 25%? Would you live worse? If you, chose an electric car over a petrol, or if you went from an electric car to a bike some days. I made that decision. I thought, it's great, I've got an electric car, but hang on, I can still reduce that. Ride my bike more. Now that's me. That's not a judgmental thing on other people, but doing less every time and feeling good for a good reason. And the other thing too is by comparing ourselves to people that more, the Joneses, keeping up with the Joneses, ridiculous, right? Because it only disturbs you. So, and if you didn't keep up with them and you had less manufacturing, less pollution, less impact.
Yeah. And more joy. You find the people who don't get caught up in the ego and comparing just happier. They're off the beaten track, but they're just happier. They're not there. They're just loving their, as you said before, that word fulfillment. You look at them and go, oh, wow. They're just, they're, as you said, that they've come to that acceptance, right? They've come to that go, this is who I am. This is what matters to me. And I'm happy to make that decision, even contrary to public opinion, right? I'm going to do me, and I'm going to do it really well. And I'm not going to compare. I'm going to have a smaller house. I'm going to move out to the country. I'm going to I don't mind the commute because this lifestyle is what I want. And they're happier for it. And then you look at the guys who've got the multi-billion-dollar home, working a 90-hour week, and you're like, does your family see you? Do your friends see you? Are you even happy? Like, question for you, which I don't necessarily know the answer to this one, and I'm happy to.
Another one I'll have an answer for.
Right? Like, these are all questions that I ponder as well, right? So, without a painful experience, right? Is there any other way to determine what is really important? So, when a painful experience or challenge comes up, it is easier to reassess. Does this matter? And before we started recording offline, we talked about the notion of what really matters, right? And without pain, do you think it is possible to really, truly determine what matters? I personally don't think.
You think we have to be hurt?
No, to a little bit, to go.
Well, what do they say? Without the sweet. You know, without the, you don't know the sweet without the sour. Or
Yeah,
something. That's how it goes, yeah.
Like without, like, I say that because of going to some simple things and going, you know what, like some things doesn't matter anymore because I'm like, oh. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think it usually comes or through pain? Or if it doesn't come through pain, how do people get there quicker? Without the pain?
I don't know. I don't know how to get quicker. I think, all right, this is how I see it. If you want to be, you can be your own personal author of your life. And then if you look at your life as a good story, there's got to be some awful moments because that makes the story interesting, right? Mm-hmm. And you pick up on it so that, you know, what happened? My mother saved up forever to take me to Amsterdam to see my family over there from Holland. That's our origins. And I was 6 years of age. What happened? I lost many months of school. I ended up in the school assembly the next year earlier on to go from grade 1 to grade 2. And there's a whole row of seats and all the names get called up to go to grade 2. And you get up off your seat and you move to another seat, right? Imagine this hallway and the girl in the front on the stage with the microphone. But my name didn't get called. I was just the only kid in this row in grade 1. That cut me. That cut me. No one explained it to me. So I think this happened because, so to understand a reason is really important. Mm-hmm. That's a journey. And then along the way, I got to secondary school and I was a bit in a coma. I didn't really understand what was going on. I thought all the subjects we were learning a waste of time. I was failing actually, and got out of school in year 10 because the teachers, my parents worked really hard. They had not a lot of money, but they worked hard to get me to private school. We're renting house, and the teachers would come to me and say, "John, you know your parents are wasting their money." Well, oh, okay. I went home. I told my parents, "I've got a great idea for you." So what's that? I'm going to save you a heap of money. Send me to the local state school. But you see, in the back of my mind, intuitively, I caught on to the idea that the anxiety that I got from trying to be someone I'm not in a school that was getting you to university was actually harmful to me. Now, God knows, right? But it was sitting around feeling like a failure enough. Eventually, the pain is so hard, I want out. I'm prepared to go from a private school to a state school to get away from that, right? And when I learned I needed to understand people and the haves and the have-nots, that's the world. What a great opportunity. That might be just my education. But it started off, the headmaster comes to our house from the school and says, "I'm really sorry, there's no room in our school. I'll get you into Melbourne High." Well, I don't want to go to Melbourne High. I'm not an academic. I want to know how other people live. I want to ride my bike to school. He said, "Well, I'm sorry, stay at the private school." I went, "No, not happening." So what are you going to do? I said, "Oh, I've got this part-time job at the local supermarket. And they really like me, so I reckon I'd go full-time." Yeah. So he leaves and Mum looks at me and says, "What did you do?" I said, "Don't worry about it." Next day, he rings my mother, and he says, I've got a spot for John. Of course, he's a headmaster. Why would he want anyone not to have an education? Got to school. Now, I don't know where that came from. It was the only time in my life I actually got it. I didn't learn that from school. I just understood that people, I need to understand people, and I understood him very quickly, didn't I? And then I got there, and I used to love talking with everybody, and they loved, for whatever reason, suddenly my anxiety disappeared overnight. I was this psychologist, or whatever. Not really, but the guy that you reasoned with.
Yeah.
And I got into a school fight, and the whole school surrounded at lunchtime around on the asphalt. I mean, it felt like hundreds of students. And the top dog bully comes and is about to, get into me. It felt like a jail. And then out of nowhere, this kid breaks through the crowd. And he looks and he says, "You're going to fight Engelander." That's exactly how he said it. He said, "You fight me first." So I was safe, right? Yeah. So I look at him and I go, "Thanks, Spanner."
That's awesome.
Says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But my God, that year was the best year of my school life. So failure came from that, to get to that, to understand what's better for me.
Yeah.
Things that go wrong. I don't know what.
Do you think without some of those failures, would we get there eventually, or would we get there eventually but longer, or would we not get there at all without some of those failures?
Don't know. I think we're all different.
Yeah.
So let's put it this way: some people play safe.
Yep.
I throw myself into things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that doesn't make me better. Just that's who I am.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But now as I've got older, I go, hang on, throw yourself into the fire all the time. You got to be careful here, because I know the skin grows back from the burns when you throw yourself in. But really, do I want that? So, one of the greatest sayings I'd heard from a tour guide when I was overseas, he was listening to me over 7 days, and we got on really well. And he said, "Gee, you take some chances, don't you?" I went, "Yeah, but fortunately, most of what I've started has worked. Otherwise, but he says, think about this, John. And actually, I'll ask you the question. What's the difference between smart and clever?"
Clever is learning from your mistakes and putting it into play for the next time, I think.
Look, it's different for different people. And I said semantics, but he said no. He said, he had an accent. He went, "John, the difference between smart and clever is a smart person gets you out of a problem. A clever person wouldn't have got you into in the first place."
I like it.
So you ask, can you stop these failures? Yes, you can think about it, but you might think about it more when you've had too many of them. When one of the universities wrote about me in a book, and they talked about, tell me about your failures. I went, I used to think about failures, but I've scrubbed that word out. It's called falls. I said, a little baby in a crib is holding on to the walls and onto the doors, on the handles, and then they fall. And then they get up again. And they keep doing it again, and they do it again, and they fall, and they get up again. Did they think for a moment, I can't do this? I've fallen. No. I've fallen. No. Falling is good.
And
And
why do you think, as a whole, general society at times is scared of falling? And it could be different sizes, right? Like, not saying big falls. It could be small falls. It could be someone asking someone out on a date. It could be the, like, you know what, I'm actually going to quit my day job and I'm going to take a massive loan and I'm going to start that business. It could be starting a podcast. Why do you think people are, I'm curious, why do you think people are hesitant of falling?
okay, so I was going to say self-belief, but if you didn't have self-belief and you needed to get started in order to build your own composure of belief, their vision. So their own personal vision. So imagine I'm going to pick up a girl who's gorgeous. What if she rejects me? You know, we all think that we need to look good. We always need to look good, you know, and you hear that in the way people speak too. They're always talking about, not always, sorry, I tell you, you know, especially people with very low self-esteem seem to, or trying to get that next level up, telling you about themselves. I mean, you're interviewing me today. You know, it's not like I throw what I've told you, asking questions, but, you know, and I'm really happy about how my life has unfolded, but, you know, with all the pain. But these people want to avoid all that. They want to look good. Yeah. And the pain of trying to look good stops them from doing things.
There's a difference between looking good and actually being good, right? Like, I think there's you can be good and do things, but the looking good always, it seems like it for whatever reason, society puts value on that, right? It's like it comes back to that ego, right? As you were saying before, it comes back to that keeping up with the Joneses, which is quite interesting.
But you know what? You'd agree with me that, yes, absolutely. But I think you'd agree with me. Vulnerability is not a bad thing. I think what that does is it actually connects.
Oh, vulnerability is great. I think it shows people that you're human, right? I think vulnerability, especially as a leader, is underrated and underutilized, I think, and in all sorts. As a leader, as a human. Right, I think vulnerability is like just being able to share and be congruent with yourself and drop your facade. Oh, it goes miles with family, with friends, with business, with the organisation, which is interesting.
Totally. Yeah. You know, you use the word congruency. It's probably my favourite word in the English dictionary, because I believe that's how you can track people's genuineness. From one thing, join the dots to all the things they do. Mm-hmm. How they dress, how they speak, how they live, who they mix with, what they buy. Yeah, you know, how they enjoy life.
Like, is there words in their message? Does it match? Does it match the behaviour? Does it match the actions? Right, which is interesting.
Yeah, good one. Like join the dots. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you got just to switch a little bit of gears here, John. Got a question. Why do you think in the last probably 3 to 5 years, as a whole, I've definitely seen it as a consumer in Australia, there's been more of a environmental focus across the board. Why do you think that is across many industries? It's more, or I see it, it's more front of mind for a lot of people. Why do you think that is? And why do you think that is? Where do you see it going? And then to build in that congruency, do you think it will actually change behaviours? Will it just be we're just going to look good, or is it actually going to be congruent and actually lead to some positive change of behaviours? What's your thoughts?
Interesting. I think there's 3 areas here. So first of all, it's cool to be green. Can be. For some organisations about compliant, and compliant linked with looking like you're doing the right thing. An example, one of our competitors cottoned on to the fact that we use chemical-free cleaning, you know, using this equipment. So they decided they would do the same. But the cleaners are so into using these horrible things, other products, they actually install it by selling the idea to the client, but supply the chemicals. Okay, so yeah, it looks good. It's compliant. It's all of that. And, you know, the owners drive fancy sports cars, V8s and stuff. Again, I can't judge people, but if you're going to talk there, do your best. You can't be perfect. You know, if you have a house in the city, you're not perfect. It's all about the tone, how you present it. I'm not perfect. So, you know, and eco guilt sometimes comes into it. But if you don't have eco guilt, then you're not thinking about it, right? So these people won't have eco guilt. They just say, how do I win business? And from my perspective, that's not the power of business in terms of how I see it. Power of purpose is coming from all all directions. When you get that wrong, we call it greenwash. So nothing to do with washing, right? So it's greenwash. It's bullshit. You're right. Yeah. We can go into a company and we can educate. We can go and talk to their green teams. We can do morning tea talks. We can provide them with bin systems, color-coded bin systems, and roll them out and not charge them a cent. Eco-bin. Why? Because I created that product, color-coded bin system. And it's, even the sustainability ingredients of that product, we did a life cycle analysis on it to know how much impact it has on the planet in terms of carbon compared to other bins. You go, hang on, we're recycling. That's good, isn't it? No. What about the product you bought in the first place? Yeah. And so if we can help people understand that, and that's what we do, that goes a long way. So, okay, so you've got the people that are compliant. You've got the people who think it's cool. I think it's cool. I like it. I want it to be cool. It's a good driver. And then you've got people who are recognizing that they will choose companies that are genuine. They will choose companies that are actually looking for low impact, and I see that with the people we talk to, but we need more of it. And I think part of it is that not everyone still understands what's going on with climate change. And when people turn around and say, well, it's not only human intervention, the planet does it anyway. Yeah, okay, fine. But why add to the problem? Why add to it? And don't our kids deserve us not to add to the problem? What have we done in the last 200 years since the Industrial Revolution? We've done more harm in 200 years than 1,000 years.
Yeah.
2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years since, whatever, and how many billions. So it's, where's the sanity? At what point do we go, okay, this is not like a false vitamin tablet that we're taking with it. I think it's a good idea. No, it's impacting on our lives. Better do something about it, right? How do we change habits? And how do we recognize the difference between one good thing, bad thing, and replacing with another thing, or nothing at all? So the choice is there. Why would you go, if you're stuck and you're really desperate for a caffeine fix and you go to the coffee shop and you didn't have your cup from home that you bought a coffee, just tell the guy behind the counter, I don't want a lid. Easy. Who needs a lid?
Yeah.
Going for a walk, I don't even want the lid. It's in the way, But not only that, it's another thing to throw out, another thing that got manufactured. That's the point. And people say it gets recycled. So what about coffee pods? And then hear about coffee pods that are compostable. Oh, that's good, isn't it? Yeah, but why did it have to be made anyway? You can buy a nice coffee machine, buy a decent coffee machine, and put the cup in the system and pour it out without any extra packaging. So there are things we can. It's the way of thinking. Ask questions. We don't have all the answers, but ask questions. I mean, I hear people go, I have my pizza box. Where do I put that? I said, well, it's landfill because it's got the food stuck on it and the grease stuck on it. It's contaminated. So, but if you think about it, that makes sense. So reducing plastic. Look, I think at the end of the day, you asked me about a bumper sticker. Is that what you want to hear?
Yeah. So what would you leave listeners with John? To either to do, to ponder, to try? What would you leave them with?
Attempt to swap out. Swap the things that really have bad impact with things that have better impact. Or, you're interviewing at the moment, and there's a great quote behind me that says, it's not an investment if it's destroying the planet. But I really underlyingly ask ourselves, what matters? What really matters? I thought people mattered. Planet matters because we look after planet for people. So a great quote, things that matter most should not be at the mercy of things that matter least.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would on your swap things, I would I would like our listeners to think about swapping. We talked about a lot of different topics today, and I think all of those, think about a potential swap on how would you make it better, right? Or yes, your choices in terms of how you consume, but also how you live. What do you choose? Swap. What do you choose that matters, right? I think especially now in Victoria and Melbourne and across the country here in Australia, where there is uncertainty. So there's time for reflection where you get to choose to go, I might choose now what matters, right? And when we get out of stuff, they go, I might not go back to actually now I'm making coffees at home and I have a cup and I can wash it. You know what? I'm just going to take this cup with me next time I go out so I can actually get it filled somewhere. Or you know what? These people during lockdown, I made an effort to keep in touch with them because they matter the most. I think people sometimes when we come out of these things, go back to their normal, but might not be what was best for them. It goes back to keeping up with the Joneses, right? And they're like, which is interesting. I think you can use this time to reflect and to evaluate what is important, what really matters. How do you want to spend your days? Who do you want to spend your days with? And in some of our previous episodes, we've asked, how do you want to be remembered, right? Is a really good one, I find, in finding out what do you put value on for what matters in your world.
Absolutely. It's a good one.
Yeah. John,
what's yours?
What's mine? I would say currently is mine evolves. Mine evolves at the moment. Is always. Oh, this one's probably the most stuck with me. Always play. Always play. Play in everything you do. I think play is underrated. Play with kids, play with family, play with colleagues, play in business. And when you're playing, like think of when we were kids, you played just to have fun. Play life, right? Life is made to be fun, right? So play. Don't be a spectator, just play. So yeah, play, always play for me.
Yeah, good one. I like it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much, John, for joining us. And I think there's definitely going to be a part 2, and hopefully we do the part 2 in person, because I think we could probably talk for hours, and when we catch up. So, thank you so much for kind of imparting your wisdom and sharing your thoughts with our listeners, and taking time out of your day to join us today.
Oh, I'm totally delighted, and if it just allows people to think more abundantly and flourish, then I've done my bit again. So thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you very much, John. And we'll definitely do a part 2. And John, where is the best place? And I'll put them in the show notes as well. Where's the best place for people if they want to connect with you? How would you suggest people connecting with you? Just through Planet Earth website, or what would you suggest?
I'll give you the simplest. Probably just john@theplanetearth.com.au. Easy, the planet Earth, and JOHN, simple. Yeah, john@planetearth.com.au. I'd love that. If you've got any ideas or you want to share some ideas, I'm there. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, John.
Yeah, so happy. Be good.
Yeah, will do.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Lifelong Learner. If you liked our episode and what you heard, please leave us a review on the platform that you've been listening on. And to find out more about us, please tune in to lifelonglearnerpodcast.com, and you can find out some updates about what's happening and get updates on as episodes drop. Thanks again.